way to perfection is narrow and steep.
The bypaths are many.
The pitfalls are deep.
By theory alone, many think to arrive. Here's one who could teach them if he were alive. The philosopher stepped into a boat, the river to cross would he. So learned was he thought no man could be half so clever as he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he.
To the boatman he said,
Good man, pray tell, was the German philosophers three, Schopenhauer, Hegel, and weighty Kant, whom you deem the wisest to be?
Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he.
Please excuse me,
the
sir.
boatman said,
I've not read your philosophers three. All day I'm obliged to ply these oars to support my family and me.
Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he.
In that case, my good man, your fleeting life is as good as a quarter lost. Why, without the writings of those three men, not a shelf of books would I trust.
Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he.
Now then, tell me, good man,
the scholar said,
have you studied the Frenchman, Descartes?
I've told you before,
the other cried,
I'm unschooled, hard work is my art.
Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he.
Hard work? What a waste, sad, foolish man. Half your life has been thrown away. Yet still a fragment might be redeemed. Memorize one theory a day.
Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Of a sudden a storm with raging might did clash that river to foam. Like a drifting metal it tossed their boat till it seemed they never get home. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he.
then the boatman cried,
My learned sir, our chances are growing dim. 2 questions you put me so far this trip. Now I'll ask you one. Can you swim?
Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he.
I can't swim a stroke.
the philosopher cried, as he clung in despair to the boat.
Then the whole of your life is lost, my friend. You'll not need those books anymore.
Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a mighty scholar was he. Who regrets to say his fair, never reached the opposite bank. All that wondrous learning inside his head gave him weight, you see, and he sang. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a weighty scholar was he. Singing wise-o with his book so, such a weighty scholar was he. La 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 la.
It's nice to see you all, be sharing this beautiful day. How is everyone today? How are the rest of you? For those who don't know us, I'm Nayaswami Daiva, and this is Nayaswami Gangamata. I wanted to start this morning. It's fun. Every so often this happens. I had 3 or 4 good service talks just running through my system all the way up until 9:45. And then they all disappeared. I want to start with a little story of, it's from India, of a couple of beggars that were blind. They lived on the street. They were kind of stationed in this town, close to each other. And one of them proclaimed that the king would satisfy all of his needs, and he had a commitment to the royal household, and he was always praying for the well-being of the king. And the other man was just very, very simple, and he just said, whatever God provides will be what I need, that whatever is needed, God will provide it. Well, the king was a little put off by this, and he decided to reward he was in the habit of giving to the beggars, but he decided that he would reward the one who had his devotion with himself. And so what he did was, it was customary that he would give loaves of bread to the beggars of the town, but these two. And what he did was one day he decided to bake into one of the loaves a small bar of gold. And he had it distributed to the beggar who was always praying for him. And about a week later, the beggar came back and to the palace, and the king thought, oh God, he wants more. How avaricious of him. But the beggar had no knowledge of what had happened. And this is the one who was in tune with the king. And the king said, you know, what happened the other day? I gave you a special loaf of bread. And the beggar said, well, yes, except that it was probably not completely baked because it was so heavy. So I was really smart and I traded it with the other guy. Who here likes to make lists? How's that work for you? I remember trying to decide, this is 30-some years ago, I was really torn. I knew I wanted to move to Ananda village. I could feel the yearning of my soul. I could feel the yearning of my heart for a life that was richer than what I knew. I was successful at whatever I turned my hand to, but I could never really find the thing to turn my hand to that I knew would satisfy me. And so it was kind of, we had a little daughter, and we were kind of doing life, but I just thought, these are all the reasons I should move to Ananda, and I had a big list. And then on the other side was all the reasons I couldn't move to Ananda and I shouldn't move to Ananda. And I was just torn between the two worlds. I just couldn't find my way because there were all the right reasons for not doing it, and yet there was something deeply, deeply pulling. And again, it wasn't that life wasn't good as I had it, but there was something missing. And I knew that when I'd been to Ananda, I could feel that change. My mind was waiting for conditions, and I even waited. It was a matter of, about a year. I finally made a deal. I just said, when we spend more of our free time at Ananda Village than we do at home, I'm going to move. But I was always waiting for the circumstances to be right. I was always waiting. My mind was always waiting. Well, I'll get there when I get the debt paid off, when I've got the car fixed, when the kid's a little older. And I just realized that one day it was never going to get right. The topic today is, by thinking can we arrive at understanding? And then it's tied to the quality of devotion. And most of us, if we're in this room, most of us have fairly well refined attributes. We've got a good mind. We've got a feeling nature. We've got relative good health, or we've got the attributes that come from a maturity of being on this planet before and developing ourselves. The mind is a beta dog. It is not designed by nature to lead. Who has seen a beta dog before be put in an alpha position? If the alpha isn't around, or you don't carry the role of being the alpha in the household. And what does the dog do? The dog will step into the breach, but if it's not an alpha dog, if it's not got the nature in it, it's always unsettled, and they're always snappish, and always they're kind of uncertain of themselves. And that's the condition of the mind. The mind is not by design the leader of the kingdom of our consciousness. But in lieu of the real leader being there, it steps into the breach. And it tries to govern, and it becomes very controlling and contractive, and it's always trying to micromanage all of the details of our lives, just thinking that if somehow it can just get all the pieces right, it will be happy. You know, the kingdom will prosper, we will feel whole. But it never works. It never works. And the way we're made is for intuition, which is tied to feeling, for it to govern. And in fact, there's even a spiritual principle that the mind follows the heart. So what happens is if the mind is kind of trying to lead the pack, it's always following desire. It's always kind of following what we like and justifying what we like. And we end up going through endless, as the reading says, the mind is endlessly ramified based on the ups and downs of our likes and dislikes as we roam through life. It's interesting when he starts talking about devotion, the sword of devotion. It's not the tender little thing of devotion. It's an enormous tool, and it's harnessed to willpower. It's harnessed to our commitment. And it's got stamina and patience and endurance tied into also a softening of the heart. You know, in the role that we're in, we work with many people, and the purpose of our connection with people is, and the commitment of our lives, is to try and help people have a deeper experience of themselves. And one of the things that I see happen over and over again is people's minds will get them into a place where their life isn't working. They've overextended. Even with the spiritual path, they'll come on the spiritual path and they'll decide that they're going to just give themselves completely to God, and they go way, way, way out in the extending of themselves into service and giving. And all of a sudden, they're not ready for that. It's too far, and they get scared. And then almost invariably, the conversation comes up is, I'm going to love myself. It's time to love myself. And I always feel it's such a delicate moment, because it's an absolute true thought, and it's absolutely a nightmare in the making. It's absolutely the wrong message to be given. The real way it works, if we have the courage to do it, is we get way out there and extended on the path or in life, and we discover that we're not the doer. And instead of contracting back into a manageable size, we let go of our attempt to try and control, and we start to allow the flow of life to open through us more fully. And in that we become super conscious. In that we become much bigger than our own capacity by an enormous amount. And it takes devotion, it takes courage, it takes practice, it takes many things to really finally land in that place. But in that place is real love. In that place is the love that we're looking for, that will nourish us. But if we contract back, if we go, oh my God, this is terrifying. It doesn't feel good this far out. I can't, this is bigger than I am, I can't do it. I'm going to go back to a size I'm familiar with and I can control. What happens is we get very small, and if we're going to love ourselves, we just get more and more and more self-involved, and our lives become very unsatisfying. They become manageable, but very unsatisfying. So the masters teach us, the teachings, the gift we've been given is to encourage us to step beyond what we can manage, what fits inside of our mental box and parameters, to start to experience a flow of energy, a flow of joy, a flow of love that's bigger than we are, and offer ourselves into it. And it takes us beyond our physical capacity, our emotional capacity, our mental capacity. And then we have that choice. Do we stay here and believe in that flow, or do we get scared and contract back? I would like to just for a moment invite everyone to take a moment and feel where you are in that story. Feel for where you are in that process. Because if you're in this room, you're somewhere in that process. What do you believe to be true? We're in a beautiful weekend. This weekend, Ananda in the Portland area has gone way past any reasonable capacity to serve, to exist. When we remodeled this temple, it was impossible. The resources to do it weren't there, and somehow it happened. We remodeled the community. We redid the school. We ended up buying Ananda Center at Laurelwood, which was an absolute fool's errand. Again, there was absolutely no resources. There was only an idiot who would even come up with the idea, much less act on it. And yet yesterday, there were over 70 people in the most magnificent, spiritually rich, fulfilling environment. We had the Taylor Group, which does, I think 30 people from the Taylor Group, which does consciousness-changing work. It's not our path, but consciousness-changing work. They were there having their own weekend workshop. We had Music and Consciousness, Resonate with Spirit, musical development program with David Eby. We had First Timers Weekend and probably about 8 or 10 new first timers, including new interns. We had our Cities of Light residential study program. And many other layers of things going on seamlessly. And in addition, and all of it's cutting edge work. All of it is cutting edge work. People reaching for the light to come into this world in ways that it doesn't currently exist. In addition to that, we've got a really fun thing happening that was born of a meditation. For those who don't know Nayaswami's Janaki Devi and Vyasa, they've been long-time Ananda members and dear friends. They moved up here with the college a couple of years ago. They're in semi-retirement. I'd say they're fully in retirement, except they just won't stop. But Janaki Devi woke up one morning about a year ago, and she came to me and she said, we are supposed to have here at Ananda Center at Laurelwood an inspirational garden for Yogananda, the father of Dwapara Yuga, the soul, the avatar who came in to bring this new consciousness into the world. She says, I'm positive. He came to me last night and he said, we need to have this garden dedicated to him and his energy. And she and Vyasa, every day, since that time, all day long, have been dedicating their time. And there is, once again, there is no possibility of this happening. But she said, it's a global work. It's a worldwide thing, and we need to figure this out. And day after day after day after day, they show up, and they're working on it. The first shrine went in on Friday. There is a statue of Yogananda radiating out over the land and out through the valley and out across the coastal hills. And they have been working now for these many months with a sculptor. Can somebody, Peter, would you go get the bust? They've been working with a sculptor now who's been a devotee and connected with Ananda since the 70s. And was down, spent time with Swami Kriyananda when he was writing The Path. And this is a sculpture he did. Gary, would you come on up? And they finally managed to get him to come. He's been working on a statue of Paramahansa Yogananda. Come on up, Gary. This is Gary Roller, the author, the channel, the source for this inspiring piece of work. And he is also now in near completion phase of a model of a statue that will be larger than life size, that will go out on the land at Ananda Center at Laurelwood in the Yogananda Gardens of the Northwest. And I just wanted to introduce him. Thank you for taking time, Gary. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone. They did a great job performing last night, like he outlined.
I play some music, and they are really doing a great job, and I particularly enjoyed the cello work that you did last night. It was great. Anyway, I also want to say thank you to everyone who's made me feel welcome. I'm sort of a pilgrim here from New Mexico and Texas area, and they've indulged me in conversations about green chili and the yellow rose of Texas and Texas culture, so we've bridged that gap. I've heard a bunch of names that I don't think I want to remember except for Bob, the videographer, and they took me up on the hill there in Laurelwood yesterday. We walked the land, saw the beautiful panorama, and shared the vision that they have for building of the future. And I say this is the future that's being built on the pasture. Okay. Okay. So anyway, we got So anyway, I'll try not to do that anymore. Anyway,
no, we'll catch up with you. Go ahead. You lead the pack here.
So anyway, thank you for having me here. It's been a great blessing, and I carry that blessing back to New Mexico, to our friends who follow Yogananda's spirit and teaching there. So I just want to say I'm proud to be here. A little bit later after the service, we're going to have an unveiling of this wax model that he alluded to, and we're going to show it to you, to the public, for the first time. And there are some very large ideas floating around, and it's going to take some very large thinking and expansive thinking, like he was describing a little while ago, thinking outside the box, seeing the larger vision, following that flow into a larger arena. And I think that will put this part of the country on the spiritual map, so to speak, globally. So anyway, thank you. I look forward to meeting many of you in there after the service. And thanks a lot for having me here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah. The mind would never take you into places that God would call us to. The things that we are called to are the things that will expand our sense of who we are, expand our sense of relationship to life itself and to the source of life. And it's only devotion. The heart purified of desire through the sword of devotion becomes free to guide, and then our lives are led the way they were born to be led. We find ourselves in a flow that's unimaginable, filled with beauty, filled with possibility, filled with originality. It will always look absolutely unique for all of us. And it's the only time our lives look like they're supposed to look. I wanted to end the service this morning. We've got, for those who don't know, it's a fundraising weekend. Gary's here in support of raising funds. It's probably a $3 or $4 million project. It's not a small project to develop these gardens. We're not going to try and swallow the elephant in one bite. It's small pieces. And this is a divine vision. The resources will come. We invite and encourage people to contribute anything. The widow's mite, the 1 rupee donations have created unbelievable ripples in this world when tied to a divine vision. Those who have more and are inspired are welcome to offer more. Those who can come to lunch today, we have a few slots left. It's a $100 plate lunch to go and spend some time with Gary Roller. Again, the purpose is to just build energy. We're not going to solve the financial issues of this, but it's to help people get a feeling for what's possible, to start to lend their energy, their thoughts, their hearts, their devotion into service at a global scale, so that the blessings that we feel in this room, the blessings that we feel in our lives, in our hearts, become increasingly available to others in this world where there's so much need and so much hunger. I'm going to end the service talk this morning with a reading from Whispers from Eternity. This is Paramahansa Yogananda's book of prayer, demands, and poems. And this one is number 35. It's I will not offer unto thee mind-made hothouse songs. So let's sit up and feel for this. And also, this is tied to the movement of music, because our lives are intended to be one long song of God. I will sing a song uninfluenced by the voice of any other. I will offer thee my own pristine heart melodies. I will sing a song to thee, unheard by any. I have nurtured this song child myself. Now I bring it to thee for higher training. I will offer thee no intellectual, premeditated, art-disciplined song. What I will offer are the wild songs of my heart. I will offer thee not civilized, emotion-packed music or artfully cultivated songflowers, but wild blossoms that grow on the high hills of my soul. Let's take a moment of silence.